Okay. I'm just gonna record this part of the class because you can listen to this a little bit later if you want to.
Yeah.
And we're gonna try to do a project today. We're gonna start and we're gonna go over this PowerPoint right here. And this is about when we think of the sun, we think sometimes of astronomy gives light to the earth. And so we're gonna talk about this is the sun by Edward Munch, and he did a picture of the sun. And he's a well-known expressionist. An expressionist, you let feelings out into your picture. But in the picture below, we're talking about light today, and the idea is that you guys can do a portrait of somebody and you can have light falling on them. We'll look at some pictures of Jesus, or if you want to just illuminate somebody, but how to put light around a picture or something like that. You can see the reflection. This is by Monet, and you can see how he uses light in the sky, and you see the reflection. And this is impressionism. There's a lack of detail. The further back you go from the picture, the more detailed it looks. Now, this is Beardstadt. And the thing you want to look at here is his use of atmospheric perspective. You can see the sun, the way he achieves this amazing picture is things in the foreground are darker, and as you go back, they get lighter in the distance. It looks like there's a river in the distance if you look real closely, and you can see how he's taken the sun and he's just like it's almost like a haze, but he's gone in dark and light values, which makes it look very, very real. Now, in many times in the interpretation of Jesus, artists use light around the figure of Jesus. So below, this is a picture of Ivanovsky's walking on the water. And as you can see this, he creates the idea. Now you could do this in black and white, or you can do it in color. You can do it in different colors. But there we have a picture of the boat and of Jesus and how he uses light. Okay. Now, this is called The Transfiguration of Jesus by Karl Bloch, and it's another picture that shows light. And as you can see, the people in the foreground are more detailed and darker, and in the background, you can see Jesus and the other figures. And this is like bringing a Bible verse to light. You could even do this like you could have a picture of you or a person in the foreground and maybe put Jesus in the background or with light, or you could do an angel or just whatever, but we're just talking about this. And Jesus says, I'm the light of the world. And this artist, he does it by putting Jesus in back of somebody, giving him thoughts. If you guys have any questions, just ask me. These are different interpretations, pictures of Christ, and as you can see, they're different. Different artists have different ways of doing it, and that's what's really great about being an artist. You want to make it different because people will love your work and want to hopefully purchase your work. Now, an aureola or is the radiance of like when you see a halo over someone or a radiance around them. It's called an aureola. I'm not sure if I think I'm aureola. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Sort of a cloud around someone when they're really special. Now, if you did a face, you could draw the face of anybody you wanted to. And we've drawn faces before. And again, I'm going to send you this. I'll send you the tape of this, and I'll also send you a thing on how to draw the face in proportion that I have that you can work on today. But if you want to put a face in proportion, the classic Greek proportions of the face are you come about halfway down for the eye line, and you come about one third of the way up. And then halfway between that is the bottom of the nose. One third of the way up from the eye line to the chin line would be where your lips are. This is now, there's all different kinds of faces. There's ovals, long faces, heart-shaped faces. I was at the hairdresser yesterday and she was telling me, they look at a face and then they decide what kind of hairdo they need to have to make them look the best. But some people have square shaped, they're all different, so you want to just use the classic proportions of the face when you're drawing this, uh, which is whatever you'll decide to do. And if you're doing a full figure, you have the human body, and the human body in proportion is 7.5 to 8 times the size of their head, an adult. So you want to stay with those proportions. And the picture on the right is by the great master, and the left is by Da Vinci. Even Da Vinci, who did the Mona Lisa, understood blocking out the classic proportions of the face. You can put usually 5 eyes all the way on the face, unless you're doing anime, which is like a cartoon or exaggeration. So what you want to do is, what I'd like you to do, if you can, is to do something with a meaning, do a picture with a meaning that shows light. And then I'm going to show you how to do or we're going to talk about some backgrounds. But when you do light, now, if, and again, I'm gonna send you a couple examples of how to do this. And you could take a wet wipe, and you could take, what I've always done is at the end, I take the sun, and the sky's darker to lighter, light at the horizon line, darker to lighter as you go back in the distance. But if you have a sun in there, you can take a wet wipe or a paper towel and just make the rays come down. And it's an easy thing to do. But you just want to illuminate a person. But I'm going to leave it to you all to decide who you want to do. But what we want to do is we want to get a digital portfolio together that has a wide variety of the kind of work that you can do. So when we send it to somebody, they're going to understand, this is what you can do. You can do this, and then you can also we're going to do some, of course, illustrations for children's books. But I wanted you to, speak to the illumination, how you can really make someone stand out in a moment of time. Now that we're going to talk about backgrounds, and we're going to just go through this really quickly. What kinds of backgrounds? Backgrounds are important to pictures. Now, of course, the George Washington, the unfinished, there's different ways you can do it, but basically, a background is very, very important. And you can have none added, you can have a vignette, simple and plain, detailed, and the background can be the main subject. These pictures have no added background. Now, if you go to the art museum, generally you're always going to see a background. Now again, the George Washington Gilbert Stuart unfinished picture is very, very famous, and it doesn't have a background to it. But generally, it's a good idea to put a background on a picture. It makes it more interesting. A vignette background is sort of blurred and not detailed. So, you could make it darker to lighter. You want to make it interesting. Just a flat background isn't interesting. The corners, if you go to an art museum, look at the corners of the famous works of art. Generally, they're all going to be very, very different. And that's one thing you really do want to think about. Let's see. Now we're going to go to the next one. A plain background. Now, see, you think about, you can use this, a plain background, but like in the flowers, this is the rule of thirds, which is true. The rule of thirds, and we'll talk about that too, in composition and design is good, but backgrounds are important too. Here you have a black background on these flowers. You as the artist decide your focus. What do you want them to look at first, second, and third? And what do you want to say in the work of art? Now, in these bird pictures, I love both of these because I just love birds. But as you can see, the background, lighter to darker, corners are different. And it's very, 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 very interesting. And you have the two birds. The red bird, of course, you look at first. And then you have your background, which makes it a beautiful picture. If you think about this, in fact, I'm a friend with David Plank, the famous bird artist that actually has been on 20 some of Birdwatcher's Digest. He's very, very good. but he actually won a competition where he took a bird and he did an abstracted background. It was so interesting, and his bird was very realistic. Now, detailed background, this is the background of the main as the main subject. This is a picture by the great master artist Beardstadt. And if you look at the front of it, the foreground, it's very darker, gets lighter in the distance, and you have your dark blue sky gets lighter in the mountains. And, you as an artist have to figure out how you're going to get the effects that you want. You have to experiment with different things. I have one brush that looks pathetic, and yet it's wonderful. I use wet wipes. You can use almost anything, but the important thing to me is the effect. Brushes, absolutely. It was really yesterday I was out looking in the garage, and here's this thing of brushes that I didn't even know I had. That's amazing. I go, what? I can't believe this. Now,
Yeah.
again, these are also pictures, very realistic. You look at the clouds, there's usually a white line when you're looking at a lake in the
Mm.
distance. The light falls on it. And the clouds generally, it's all, this is like lighter at the top and darker at the bottom when you're doing clouds. You could do a center of interest here. In one of these pictures, if you wanted to, you could put a certain, like maybe something flying through the sky, or, these could be backgrounds, but you could add a center of interest. A good background complements rather than competes with the main elements. You never want a background that fights for attention with your focal point that you want people to look at first. A good background unifies the picture. At least one color used in the background should pick up on some of the coloring of the main element of the picture. A good background enhances the picture. The picture should look better with the background than without it. Now, a good background doesn't compete with a center of interest. And these are not good examples of backgrounds because they don't look finished. They don't look good.
Mm.
They're confusing. They're not the very best. A good background unifies the picture. It lends unity to the picture. A good background enhances the picture. Where is my light coming from? The background of the Mona Lisa is called sfumato. When you create a haze, like they're details, but it's sort of a haze, it's called sfumato. And the very famous picture, the man with the bowling hat with the apple, that's super famous by Magritte, and it's surrealism. And it's a very, very famous picture, but the background actually does enhance the picture. You look at the red tie first. Now, lastly, which background do you like of these two pictures and why? You have one of a girl, and actually she's looking up. She has an expression on her face, and you have a lot of flowers around and interesting things in the background. And the other one creates a lot of movement. And so, what you want to do is you want to think about when you do your background for your picture that you're going to keep, you want to think, what's my subject? How can I show light on it and make it very, very special? And what kind of background can I use to enhance the picture? So that's very, 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 very important. And what we're going to do now